The state of California is different from any other state. We have 109 different tribes that are federally recognized. That doesn't include the individuals who are still trying to gain recognition, the individuals who are just state recognized. Each one of those tribes have their own languages. They have their own culture. They practice different ceremonies, and some might be similar. Some might share some of the same ceremonies, but each of them have things that are just the tiniest bit different that makes them their own. It makes it their own.
One of the things that I would really like to elaborate on is how important it was for the Tribal Child Care Association of California and that opportunity for us to come together and gather with the state. That shared experience led to opportunities that really expanded what we were able to do in our community here for the Calusa Indian community and for Hand in Hand Early Learning Center. It really gave us the opportunity to layer resources, to align systems. We developed this platform for the states and tribes to come together that were definitely key in creating that opportunity and the vision of a state-tribal partnership. It is very important to lift up tribal child care and to make sure and ensure that sovereignty is honored. That it's a government-to-government relationship and that tribes have individual and unique ways of doing things in their communities that are based off of their own vision for their community and their culture and their language and their tribe.
It's not about childcare and just taking care of the children. It's about loving the children and honor them and letting the families know how they could trust us, that this is their second home. This is where they're going to learn, and this is where they're going to know culturally how to sing and pray and voice their opinion and honor what they're saying and help them in any needs that they need to, make it successful for them and their families.
It's really important to us that we form a relationship, a trusting relationship with our families, and that really starts from the very beginning. Before their child even begins attending our center, a relationship is being developed. And that is really important to build trust, to value the family, meet them where they're at, build on their strengths, understand their challenges, and identify resources that they might need.
So when thinking about early learning care in my community and what that looks like, I think about where we're at, right? And location is everything. We're not heavily populated. We live not even within a township. We live on the outskirts of that. And so in order for us to receive early learning care, we have to make some decisions, right? So one is, am I going to drive off reservation to put them in a center? Or am I trying to stay closer to home, my kids be closer to me, and we put them in family relative care? And I can say that's what I chose. And hands down, easiest decision for me was my mom. It's because she's able to teach culture along with everything. She's talking and you'll just hear these Karuk words come out in phrases. She might not be fluent, but that tone and that language is still presented in some way. And the way that my grandma was with me, I see those same traits with my mom. So my mom being able to walk them outside and say, we're going to do this today, and they grab something from the earth, and the next thing you know, they're grinding acorns and they're making it with one another. That's not something that I would get from a center back at home. So any center that my kids would go to would be more Western civilized, I should say, where it's uncommon for a kid to be singing a native song, or it's uncommon that people eat acorns, or it's uncommon that they go to ceremonies. I don't want my kids to ever feel uncommon or not proud of or looked at differently. I want my kids to embrace their culture full-heartedly and never shy away from what or who they are.
I feel endlessly grateful that I am able to allow my children to go to an early childhood education center that allows them to be outside. There are no screens. it's good for kids to know that we're going to eat lunch and then we're going to go outside and just find some bugs or find some trees, or what is that tree? And to be able to allow them to develop a connection with the environment that they are in. To expect that of a provider is something I know it's a high bar to set, but knowing that they're focused on allowing children to be themselves and seeing whether or not this child is great at math or this child is great at art or they express themselves differently. When providers focus on children's individual needs, it's good for everybody. It's good for the other children to see, oh, that person is different from me, but we're all going in the same direction. And it's good for the children to see that they have support in that with their teachers.
We need places like this. We need places that give our kids a feeling of safety, a security. You need to have a spiritual connection. You need to know who is guiding you, who's walking life with you, who is there no matter what. So how do we get there, right? You need to take the elders, you bring in their knowledge, here's your wisdom, and then over here, you have your teachers, you have the individuals who are paying attention to you, not because you're family related, but because they want better for you and because you matter and because they want to give you the tools that you need to be able to be successful in school if that's what you decide to do. We just need to make sure we work together as a community, make sure we come together as tribal leaders, make sure that the programmatic staff in tribal communities and in schools are creating connections so that no kid feels like I could have, but I didn't have anybody. So it's giving every child a voice in finding their own resources so they can become who they want to become.